Good morning, years 3 and 4. Welcome to Maths at Home with Mrs. Whitley. I hope you've had a lovely half-term break and you're ready this morning for some maths. In our sessions this week, we're going to be comparing and sorting quadrilaterals on Monday. Tuesday, we're going to be solving problems involving quadrilaterals. Wednesday, we're going to be looking at polygons and naming and sorting them. And Thursday and Friday, we'll be uploading some more stuff on Mathletics and Purple Maths for you. We hope you have a wonderful week. Each day in maths we'll be using Fluent in 5. Fluent in 5 is basically 5 mathematical questions in 5 minutes. You do as many as you can. On the left hand side of the slide you will see that there are mild questions. On the right hand side you will see that there are spicy and hot questions. You just need to choose the questions according to your group and the answers will follow on the next slide. Enjoy! So in our lesson today, we're going to be thinking about different shapes. And what I want you to do is look at the screen in front of you where the question is, what is a quadrilateral? I want you to think carefully about that question and see if you can write a definition. Don't worry if you can't because the answer will follow on the next slide. So we've had a few minutes to think about the question, what is a quadrilateral? A quadrilateral is a 2D shape. It's a shape where all its sides are straight. It's a four-sided shape and a shape which has 4 interior angles that add up to 360. Can you have a think for a moment and pause the video? Can you think of any other quadrilateral shapes? So we know from the previous slide that a square is an example of a quadrilateral. Can you think about the properties of a square now? When we talk about the properties, we think about how many sides has it got, how many corners has it got, are the sides parallel, what are the interior angles, all those sorts of questions. So I just want you to think about that for a square and write it down in your book. Well done, year 3 and 4. These are some of the properties that you may have recorded. A square has 4 sides, which all are of equal length. It has 4 corners. The opposite sides are parallel and all interior angles are equal. Now I want you to just look at the question at the bottom of the slide. It says, if the interior angles of a quadrilateral add up to 360, what must each interior angle of a square be? Just have a think about that and pause the video and the answer will be on the next slide. Well done, year 3 and 4. The answer was each angle is a right angle of 90 degrees. And the way that we find that is to take 360, divide it between the 4 corners of the square, and that will give you your answer of 90 degrees. Another example of a quadrilateral is the rectangle. Do you know what the properties of a rectangle are? Have a think about that for a minute and then move on to the next slide and you'll see the answers. Excellent, well done. I'm sure some of the properties that you came up with are also what you can see on the screen in front of you. Now I want to take this a little bit further. I want you to think about the question at the bottom of the screen. Squares can be classified as rectangles, but not all rectangles can be classified as squares. Can you explain why? The answer will be on the next slide, so pause the video just while you're thinking about that. Excellent, well done. The answer is a rectangle has opposite sides of equal length and has 4 90-degree angles. A square has opposite sides of equal length and 4 90-degree angles. However, in a square, all of the sides are of equal length. Now on this slide you'll see the rhombus. Do you know what the properties of a rhombus are? Pause the video for a minute and jot those down in your book. So on the screen in front of you, you will see the properties of a rhombus. The rhombus have 4 sides of equal length. They have diagonally opposite angles which are equal. 2 of the angles on the rhombus are acute, which means they're less than 90 degrees. We're going to be looking at that a little bit more next week. And 2 are obtuse, which are larger than 90 but less than 180. You will also see that the opposite sides are parallel. Remember, parallel means like train lines. The lines will never meet together. And the diagonals bisect each other at right angles, which means that the shape can be split into two equal parts. Now, if you look at the bottom of these slides, you will see a question. What other names could be given to a rhombus? I just want you to have a look at the rhombus and think about that question, and the answer will be on the next slide. Well done. Another name given to a rhombus is a parallelogram. Don't worry if you didn't get that. We're going to be looking at more on the parallelogram on the next slide. Well done, years 3 and 4. You've done brilliantly so far. We've got 3 more quadrilaterals to look at. We're going to look at the parallelogram, the trapezium and the kite. We're going to talk about their properties, and then we're going to do a short quiz just for fun to see how much you've remembered. Now, going back to the slide in front of you, you can see a parallelogram. What do you think the properties of a parallelogram are? And I want you to just jot them down in your book. Well done, year 3 and 4, you're doing really well. So here are the properties of your parallelogram. It has 2 pairs of equal parallel sides. Diagonally opposite angles are equal. 2 angles are acute. Remember, acute means that they're less than 90 degrees. And 2 are obtuse, which means they're over 90 but less than 180, 180 being a straight line. Now I want you to look at the question at the bottom of the screen. It says, a rhombus is a type of parallelogram. Which property means that not all parallelograms are rhombuses? Have a think about that and just pause the video for a second. Brilliant. You may have picked up the answer, which is in a rhombus, all of the sides are equal. That's the answer to that question. But don't worry if you didn't get it. On the next slide, we're going to look at the trapezium. Brilliant, well done. Now we've got the trapezium. Do you know what the properties of a trapezium are? Pause the video for a minute and the answers will come up. Great, well done. So the trapezium has 1 pair of parallel sides. Okay, this will be a shape that's familiar to many of you, I'm sure. Okay, it's a kite. Do you know what the properties of a kite are? And here we have the properties of the kite shape. So you'll see on the kite shape, I've used the blue arrows and the red arrows. These arrows are to show the 2 pairs of equal adjacent sides. Also, the diagonals bisect each other at right angles. So again, the shape can be split into 2 parts. And finally, there's 1 pair of opposite angles on each side. Okay, year 3 and 4, are you ready for our quick quiz time? Are you sitting comfortably? Excellent. Here is how it's going to work. I'm going to read you a set of clues and you will think about the shape, the quadrilateral that I'm talking about, and you will write the answer in your book and we will see how many you have got right at the end. Are you ready? Let's go. Okay, here we go. Question 1. First clue. All sides are of equal length. All sides are of equal length. Second clue. Opposite sides are parallel. Opposite sides are parallel. And last clue, all interior angles are equal. All interior angles are equal. And you need to write the name of that quadrilateral in your book. Go. Okay, question 2. Are you ready for the first clue? This one only has 1 clue, which might give it away a little bit. Okay, the clue is this quadrilateral has 1 pair of parallel sides. This quadrilateral has 1 pair of parallel sides. Write it in your book and then we'll go on to number 3. Okay, third question. The first clue of the third question. Are you ready? Opposite sides are parallel and of equal length. Opposite sides are parallel and of equal length. Second clue. Every angle is a right angle. Every angle is a right angle. Write it in your book and then we'll go on to question 4. Okay, question 4, year 3 and 4, are you ready? Okay, the first clue is all 4 sides are of equal length. All 4 sides are of equal length. Okay, clue number 2, To get you thinking, diagonally opposite angles are equal. Diagonally opposite angles are equal. Clue number 3, 2 angles are acute. Remember that means less than 90. And 2 are obtuse, more than 90, less than 180. Opposite sides are parallel. Opposite sides are parallel. And final clue, diagonals bisect each other at right angles. What am I? Write it in your book. Okay, you ready? Question 5, final question. Listen to the clues carefully. So clue number 1, this shape has 2 pairs of equal adjacent sides. This shape has 2 pairs of equal adjacent sides. The diagonals bisect each other at right angles. The diagonals bisect each other at right angles. And finally, the final clue, 1 pair of opposite angles are equal. 1 pair of opposite angles are equal. Now I'm going to give you one last clue, just in case you haven't got it. You might take this shape out on a very windy day and use it to play with. You might take it out on a windy day and use it to play with. Mrs. Whitley's final clue. Write down your answer and then we'll go through all the answers together. Okay, the answers were number 1, square, number 2, trapezium, number 3, rectangle, number 4, the rhombus, and of course number 5 was the kite. Well done if you got all of those right. Well done if you got some of those right. We're now going to go on to a little bit more of our activities. Well done. On the screen in front of you, you'll see a whole selection of different quadrilaterals. Now, what I want you to think about is what is the same about these quadrilaterals and what is different? And you can pause the video and just think about that question for a minute. So thinking about your thoughts in the last slide about how they're similar and how they're different, I want you to think about the next question. If you were going to sort these quadrilaterals, how would you do it? Now I've put a little hint on the slide. Think about the sides, think about the parallel lines, think about the angles and whether they have lines of symmetry or not. On the screen in front of you is a mild group activity. What you've got to do is use the quadrilaterals, which you will see on the right hand side, and you've got to sort them according to the titles that I have given on the table. So the left hand side says rectangles with 4 right angles, and on the right hand side of the table it says 4 sides but not 4 right angles. So you've got to carefully look at each of the shapes and sort them into the table. This will also come home as a parent mail to give you the opportunity to print it off as well. Enjoy. Here are the answers for the mile group activity. On the right hand side you will see a question just to think about this a little bit further. Which shapes didn't fit either side? Are you able to explain why? And the answer is on the next slide. On the screen in front of you is the spicy group activity. You'll need to either draw the table in your books or it will come home as a parent mail where you can print it off. And you will need to sort the quadrilaterals that you can see on the side of the screen into the table. The left hand side of the table says parallel sides and more than 2 right angles, and the right hand side of the table says no parallel sides and less than 2 right angles. Then I want you to think about which shapes didn't fit into either side, and can you explain why? On the screen in front of you, you will see the hot group task activity. And what you've got to do is use the table to create your own headings and then to sort the quadrilaterals according to the headings that you've come up with. You can use the spicy table to give you ideas on the sorts of things that we put on those tables. Have fun. In front of you on the screen, you will see the chili challenge question. Can you use a Venn diagram as a different way to sort your quadrilaterals? Now, the way that the Venn diagram works is you've got two circles which overlap each other. Each of the circles need their own heading. So, for example, using the quadrilaterals that you can see on the screen, I might say the left-hand circle has a heading of yellow shapes, and the right-hand circle has a heading of shapes which have a right angle. And then where the circles overlap in the middle, that would need to be the shapes that actually fit into both of those headings. So shapes that are yellow and shapes that have a right angle. Shapes that don't fit into either of these headings would need to go on the outside of the circle. So your challenge is to come up with your own questions where you can, or statements, that you can put the quadrilaterals into, and then anything that you do, take a photograph or send it to Miss Charman or myself, and we can put it up on our Purple Mash blogs. Enjoy! Good morning, Years 3 and 4. Welcome to Maths at Home with Mrs. Whitley, our Tuesday session. Now, if you remember yesterday, we were looking at quadrilaterals and we were naming them and we were sorting them. I just want you to think for a moment, what would you say is the definition of a quadrilateral? Can you remember it? Pause the video and just have a think. So remembering what we know about quadrilaterals, I want you to look at the shapes on the screen in front of you, and I want you to think really carefully which is the odd one out and can you explain why? Well done, the odd one out was the pentagon because the pentagon has 5 sides, whereas all the other shapes, the quadrilaterals, have 4 sides. Okay, in front of you, you'll see a shape. And around the shape are statements. The statements say it is a rectangle, it has 3 sides, it has 4 sides, it has 5 right angles, it has equal sides. I want you to decide which of those statements about the shape are true and which of those statements about the shape are false. And I want you to pause the video, and then I want you to carry on looking at the video and see what the answers are on the next slide and see if you were right. Were you correct? Well done. You'll see that the shape is a rectangle and it has just 4 sides. Look at the shape in front of you on the slide. I want you to copy the sentences into your book and fill out the gaps. The first one says, this shape has blank sides. You need to decide how many sides this shape has. The second one says, it has blank right angles. You need to decide how many right angles you can see and fill in the blank. And the final line says, it has blank pair of parallel sides. You need to decide how many parallel sides there are and fill the gap in. The answers will follow on the next slide. Well done. Draw the shape in your book using the descriptions below. The shape has 4 sides, 4 right angles. What shape will you draw? Brilliant, well done. Of course, you could have drawn a square or you could have drawn a rectangle because they both have 4 sides and they both have 4 right angles. Obviously, it didn't specify that one of the shapes needed to have 2 longer sides and 2 shorter sides, which is why it could be the rectangle or the square that you have drawn. Well done. Look at the shapes in front of you. What is the same about these shapes and what is different? And I want you to write down your thoughts in your book, and then we'll look at some of the possible answers coming up. On the screen in front of you are the questions for the mile group. You need to read through the questions and then write the answers in your book. The answers will follow on the following slide. On the screen in front of you are the questions for the spicy group. You'll need to read the questions through, answer them in your book, and then the answers to these questions will follow on the next slide. Here are the questions for the hot group. You will need to read the questions through, answer them in your book, and then the answers will follow on the following slide. Here is your challenge question. Can you create your own problem using quadrilaterals? Share them with Mrs. Whitley or Miss Charman by email, and we can put them on our class blog as a challenge. Good morning, Year 3 and 4. Welcome to our Wednesday session of Maths at Home with Mrs. Whitley. In this session, we're going to be looking at 2D shapes and sorting them. Enjoy. On the screen in front of you, you will see a question. What do we know about 2D shapes? I want you to think carefully for a minute. What do you already know about 2D shapes? And I want you to just jot those ideas down in your book and then continue on with the video. So our question was, what do you already know about 2D shapes? Remember, 2D stands for two-dimensional, and there are lots and lots of 2D shapes that I'm sure that you could name. They all have a height and a width, but no thickness. Can you name any of these 2D shapes that you can see on the screen? On the screen in front of you, you will see some regular polygons. There's a triangle, quadrilateral, pentagon, hexagon, heptagon, octagon, nonagon, and decagon. Can you think for a moment about what the number of sides each of these shapes have and how many corners they have? Well done. Regular polygons all have equal sides and they have the same sized angles. On the screen in front of you, you will see some irregular polygons. I want you to pause the video for a minute and just think about how are these irregular polygons different from the polygons that you saw on the previous slide. So remember, with the polygons, the regular polygons, they all have sides that are equal and angles that are equal. But if you look at the irregular polygons, you'll notice that the sides are of different sizes and the angles are of different sizes. Okay, Year 3 and 4, we're going to play a little game of guess the shape to see how much you've remembered about what is different between regular polygons and irregular polygons. So the first question I have for you, I have 6 sides, my sides are all the same and my angles are all the same. What am I? Write down the answer in your book and you'll see the answer on the next slide. Excellent, well done. The answer is I am a regular hexagon, and we know the answer is a regular hexagon because the clue is my sides are all the same, they have 6 sides and the angles are all the same. Okay, you ready for question number 2 of guess the shape? I have 5 sides, my sides are different sizes and my angles are different sizes. Write the answer in your book. Did you get it right? I am an irregular pentagon. Well done if you got it right. I have 5 sides. My sides are different sizes and my angles are different sizes, and that's why it's irregular. Let's look at the next one. Okay, next question of guess the shape. I have 8 sides and 8 corners. My sides are all the same. Write the answer in your book. Did you get that one correct? Well done, it's I am a regular octagon. I have 8 sides and 8 corners. My sides are all the same. Excellent, good job everyone. On the screen in front of you, you will see the mild group activity. This sheet will come home as a parent mail, so if you can, you will be able to print it at home. So on the left-hand side of the screen, you will see that there are different polygons. The idea is that you tick the regular polygons and you write the name of each shape inside the shape. On the right-hand side, you need to decide, are they regular or irregular? And you need to write regular or irregular and then be able to explain why you think it is one of each. On the screen in front of you, you will see the spicy group activity. This sheet will also come home as a parent mail, so you have the opportunity to print it off if you are able to. What you need to do is look at the shapes and decide, are they regular or irregular, and try and explain why. Then underneath, you've got to be able to write a definition of what a regular shape is and what an irregular shape is. On the screen in front of you, you will see the hot group activity. This sheet will be sent home as a parent mail, so you have the opportunity to print it off if you are able to. If you are unable to print it off, don't worry, because you can draw your own triangles, making sure they're all the same size. The idea is to cut out and stick together 6 equilateral triangles at a time to make, number 1, a quadrilateral, which is a 4-sided shape, number 2, a regular hexagon, a 6-sided shape, number 3, an irregular hexagon, a 6-sided shape, and number 4, a heptagon, a 7-sided shape. Have fun, and if you can, send it as an email to Miss Charman or myself, and we can put them on the blogs to show your lovely work. Good morning, Year 3 and 4. For our Thursday the 4th of June and Friday the 5th of June maths activities, we'd like you to log on to Mathletics and Purple Mash, where Miss Charman and myself will have uploaded some more activities for you to do. We hope you have a really lovely weekend. You take care of yourselves, and we hope to see you soon. Much love.